All right, welcome to the Deliverables. I'm your host, Ian Foley. We have the legendary Liz Ingle from Expedition Communication. Thanks for coming on today, Liz.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Ian.
Hey, and Liz, we've had like Sloan Tyson from Skydio, Chris B from Sharper Shape. They're all drone people. They're in my orbit. We all kind of know each other or know of each other. You're coming in from the satellite world. Can you introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. No, I'm not a drone person, but I am in an adjacent area here with satellites. And so Expedition Communications is an end-to-end satellite telecom provider. And so we work with enterprise operations, drone companies such as yourself, public utilities, and public safety, just to name a few. And we really help with making sure that all of their devices talk to each other and that they can connect in remote places just as easily as they would, in more urban locations.
Awesome. Can I've had some experience recently with a SatCube. Can you tell us a little bit about rapid deployable satellite systems?
Sure. Yeah. Over the last few years, and I haven't been in satellite my entire career, I really started getting into satellite telecommunications over the last 3 years. And prior to that was in media and cable. And so know a little bit more about the telecommunications from the terrestrial side. But when you're talking about satellite communications, over the last few years, there's been a big, I guess, explosion of different form factors. And so what that enables is smaller form factors, and it starts to become more and more portable and easier to use. And so the SatCube that you referenced is one of the newer form factors out there, and it's a flat panel design that is under 20 pounds. I think it's 17 pounds and change, and really just makes portability and mobility a lot easier.
Awesome, awesome. With the satellite market changing, how is FieldCom implementation becoming more accessible, more cost effective to the various enterprises out there?
Sure. So when you think about satellite and you think about what it is typically known for, you're thinking a satellite dish, right? Where you have that big antenna, correct?
Hmm.
And so that's a little bit difficult to have all of your field teams moving around with these. We have in the past and for some time now had vehicle mounted satellites, which Ian, we actually worked together on a unit like that. And it's great, but like you experienced, it's not necessarily the most portable in the field. It's a one vehicle to one team given where you can drive. So you can't walk it in anywhere. It's attached to your vehicle. And so when you have these, we also have what's called a man pack, right? It's a
Hmm.
manual point satellite dish versus the sat cube, which is flat. But they're more personal like devices where you can have an individual carry that in for you. So if you had 10 teams and you had 10 portable devices, you could go to that plateau that you have to hike to with that on your back versus needing to park the truck at the bottom of the trail and then get the data from the top and then report it back.
We're very excited about it. We've been talking about it since Garrett Cruz, director of flight ops over at PacTri. We've been talking about it since we saw it, so we're very excited about that.
Yeah, we can't get wait to get you guys back out with it. But I mean, that's only one form factor that they have. So even if you're thinking a more traditional dish, one that you can also carry in a backpack and it's fiber carbon, so it's lightweight, put together with no tools out in the field. That is something that's a game changer as well. We recently got an antenna approved with one of our providers, and the design of the antenna is actually based on a military spec antenna that was already out in the marketplace. So you asked what's making it more accessible. You're taking this design that was originally meant for military and you're converting it for commercial use, and it brings the cost down significantly.
Awesome. Can you talk about some of the other highly portable products that Expedition Communication offers?
Sure. So when you start thinking about handheld devices and GPS, and you are talking about field teams, location and safety is really important. So the GPS devices to transmit your location for where you are, just in terms of safety, but also we work a lot in the first responder areas. So GPS for assets out in the field. If you have a hurricane that happens, which we've responded in Puerto Rico and in Florida quite frequently, you have a lot of assets that are portable out in the field, and sometimes they go missing. I mean, when people don't have power, a generator goes missing, you can tag those. That's a portable option. And then you have your more traditional portable options like a BGAN unit, which is mainly for transmitting voice or email data.
Nice. Yeah, that's one thing never talked about. You definitely got to watch your gear out in
Yes.
those hazardous areas. Why are satellite communications recommended for primary and secondary comms in the field?
So there's a different use case for satellite for primary and for secondary. So when you're looking at primary communication use cases for satellite, you're really going into more remote locations where you don't have a steady cellular signal and you don't have fiber, and satellite is your primary. Look, we are specialists in satellite, but if you can get fiber, that fiber connection is gold, and we understand that. So we know where we play and we know where we shine. And remote locations, that's really where the play for satellite just makes a lot of sense, because there's so many options now, from Ka band, Ku band, L band, you name it, that's out there. What we're talking about with the SatCube is more of a Ku band solution, but the ManPack that I mentioned earlier could be a Ka solution. So it just kind of depends where you are geographically and what you need to transmit data-wise.
Awesome. One of my favorite topics, safety. How do SatComms contribute to the safety in the field?
So, I mean, I actually think that you and I talked about this story where you've been out in the field and you get some interesting folks that you run into that maybe aren't so thrilled with your flying drones.
Yeah.
And so if you need to communicate that you guys are in trouble or have run into one of these folks, you need reliable communications.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I actually keep this beard look, in case I had to go back out in the field, and I can blend in easily. In what other ways do you see SatComms aiding in drone teams?
Well, the way that they can aid is very diverse, and it just breaks down by vertical and where the drones are being used. So if you're thinking about real estate or events, you can think about safety with public utilities, or even starting to get. We have a client that does off-road racing, and having a drone out there with the ability to live feed would be a big step up from doing Facebook Lives. So the technology is changing. I just talked with a vendor today that specifically works on video compression for satellite feeds. And it was a very interesting conversation, but it's definitely a technology that can be used in conjunction with satellite and drones. So I think it's just scratching the surface, quite honestly.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that offline. Well, we always like to keep it short and sweet, Liz. We do appreciate you coming on and educating the drone community about our options with satellite communications. So thanks again for coming on, Liz.
Thanks, Ian.